A developing tropical low in the Coral Sea, severe thunderstorms tracking across Queensland, heavy rainfall already causing flooding in central areas, and a significant cool change pushing up from the south. That's the weather situation across Australia right now. I've been examining the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, comparing multiple forecast models and monitoring real-time conditions across the country. What we're looking at over the next week is a complex weather pattern that will affect most of the eastern states in different ways. Let's start with what is happening right now, because understanding the current conditions helps explain why the forecast plays out the way it does. Across Queensland, conditions have been intensely wet over the past 24 hours. Gladstone recorded 79 millimetres overnight. The Calliope River already at moderate flooding. Barcaldine finally got 50 mils after a particularly dry run. Further north around Mount Carbine, heavy rain through the night with steady rain continuing this morning. Claremont broken its rainfall record going back to 1916. That's significant. Central Queensland been copping the heaviest falls. Townsville, Mackay, inland areas around Emerald and Longreach. This isn't just nuisance rain. We're talking about serious totals that are causing genuine flooding issues in some catchments. Brisbane sitting under cloud cover, but not seeing much actual rain yet. That changes over the next couple of days. The Gold Coast had a few showers this morning with overcast conditions further south into New South Wales. It's a different story. The southern downs of Queensland are in drought conditions. The rain that's fallen further north hasn't made it that far south yet. They need this moisture desperately. Down in New South Wales, conditions are split. The far north coast around Murwillumbah is humid and uncomfortable. No relief yet from the sticky conditions. Further inland, Wagga Wagga and the Riverina are dealing with brutal heat. They're crying out for rain. Carcaw in the central west hit 28 degrees today with high humidity and decent cloud cover developing. Victoria's relatively quiet at the moment. Cool conditions across the south, a welcome break from the heat, but no significant rain for most areas, just the cool change. South Australia's been smelling bushfire smoke for days, particularly near the Victorian border. The fires around Thogalong in Victoria have been producing smoke that's drifting west across SA. Western Australia enjoying a brief cool snap in the southwest. Perth woke up to cooler temperatures this morning. That won't last long though, the heat returns. Tasmania still sitting pretty with lovely, dry, warm conditions. Unusual for this time of year, but they were not complaining. Now here, where it gets interesting from a meteorological perspective, we've got multiple systems interacting across the continent, and understanding how they are reworking together helps explain the forecast. First there's a tropical low developing in the Coral Sea. This is the primary driver of the heavy rainfall we're seeing across Queensland. The Bureau of Meteorology is monitoring this closely. There's also discussion about the remnants of ex-tropical cyclone Koji potentially redeveloping. On top of that, there is a low pressure system off Cape Morton and the potential for another low to form off the far North Queensland coast. What this means is we've got moisture being pumped into Queensland from multiple directions. The Coral Sea low is drawing in humid tropical air. The monsoon trough is active. And these systems are interacting with each other in ways that enhance rainfall totals. The Access model and the European model are showing reasonable agreement on the broad pattern, but there is some divergence on the exact track and intensity of these lows. The GFS is slightly more aggressive with the development of the Coral Sea system. That uncertainty matters for rainfall totals over the next few days. Meanwhile, from the south, we've got a polar boundary pushing north. Cold air from the Southern Ocean is making its way up through Victoria into New South Wales. This is the cool change everyone has been waiting for after the recent heat. The contrast between the tropical moisture in the north and the cold air in the south is going to create some interesting weather along the boundary zone. New South Wales and southern Queensland are where these two air masses collide over the next several days. Let me break this down by region because the impacts are quite different depending on where you are. Starting with Queensland, the heavy rain that has already fallen is going to continue for another 24 to 36 hours across central areas. We're re-looking at widespread totals of 50 to 100 millimetres, with isolated areas potentially seeing 150 to 200 millimetres. That's a serious rainfall that cause further river rises and flooding in already saturated catchments. The Calliope River, as I mentioned, is already at moderate flooding. Other rivers in central Queensland need close monitoring. The Fitzroy, the Burdekin, the Don, all of these catchments are responding to the heavy falls. Brisbane and southeast Queensland will see increasing shower and thunderstorm activity over the next 2 days. Not the continuous heavy rain that Central Queensland-'s seeing, but enough to make things wet and unpleasant. Totals of 20 to 50 millimetres are likely across the Brisbane metro area. The southern downs that desperately need rain will finally start seeing some relief. As the moisture pushes south, areas around Toowoomba, Warwick and Stanthorpe should see decent falls. Not drought-breaking totals, but enough to provide some relief. Far north Queensland around Cairns and the Tablelands will see scattered showers and storms, but nothing like the Central Coast. The heaviest rainfall stays further south. Now, there's a caveat here. If ex-tropical cyclone Koji redevelops in the Coral Sea, and if it tracks closer to the coast than currently expected, these rainfall totals could increase significantly. The models aren't in perfect agreement on this scenario. It is worth monitoring closely over the next 48 hours. Moving down to New South Wales, the northern rivers and mid-north coast will see the tropical moisture first. Areas around Coffs Harbour, Port Macquarie and the far north coast will see increasing showers and storms from Thursday onwards. Some of these storms could be severe with heavy rainfall, damaging winds and large hail. The Hunter Valley and Central Coast will be in the firing line on Friday and into the weekend. The collision between the tropical moisture and the cooler air from the south creates ideal conditions for severe thunderstorms. Newcastle, Maitland, Gosford, areas that have copped severe weather before need to pay attention to this one. Sydney will see the cool change arrive late Thursday into Friday. Temperatures will drop from the low 30s to the low 20s. Showers and possible storms on Friday, then clearing over the weekend. The change will be quite noticeable after the warm, humid conditions earlier in the week. Inland New South Wales, particularly the central west and riverina, will finally see some rain. Wagga Wagga and surrounding areas will get showers and possible storms as the trough moves through. Totals of 10 to 30 millimetres are possible. Not huge amounts, but better than nothing after the dry, hot conditions. The southern tablelands and snowy mountains will see the coldest air. Overnight minimums could drop close to zero in elevated areas. Not quite cold enough for snow at this time of year, but definitely a shock after the recent warmth. Victoria's forecast is relatively straightforward. Cool conditions continue for the rest of the week. Melbourne will see tops in the high teens to low 20s. Overnight minimums in the low teens, partly cloudy with the chance of a shower or two, but nothing significant. The fires around Thogalong will benefit from the cooler, calmer conditions. Fire danger drops significantly with the temperature decrease and humidity increase. However, smoke will continue to drift across parts of Victoria and into South Australia for another day or two. Gippsland and the northeast might see a few showers as moisture from the north interacts with the cool air, but totals will be light, 5 to 15 millimetres at best. South Australia sees the cool change as well. Adelaide will drop from the mid-20s to the low 20s. Partly cloudy conditions, not much rain expected, maybe 5 to 10 millimetres in elevated areas. The cool change is the main story here. The smoke from the Victorian fires will gradually clear as winds shift. Another day or two of smoky conditions near the border, then improvement. Western Australia's brief cool spell in the southwest ends quickly. Perth returns to warm conditions by the weekend. Tops back into the low 30s. No significant rain expected. The dry pattern continues across most of WA. The north of the state stays hot and humid, typical for this time of year. Scattered showers and storms in the Kimberley and Pilbara, but nothing unusual. Tasmania continues its pleasant run. Hobart and southern areas will see tops in the low to mid-20s. Overnight minimums mild. Mostly sunny conditions. No rain expected. Enjoy it while it lasts. Northern Tasmania might see a few showers late in the week as moisture from the north makes it that far south, but totals will be light. Now let's talk about severe weather risks, because this is where people need to pay attention. The main severe weather threat is severe thunderstorms across Queensland and New South Wales from Thursday through Saturday. The Bureau of Meteorology has already issued severe thunderstorm warnings for parts of Queensland. These warnings will likely extend into New South Wales as the system moves south. What makes these storms potentially severe is the combination of strong wind shear, high instability, and plenty of moisture. That is the recipe for damaging winds, large hail, and heavy rainfall, leading to flash flooding. If you are in southeast Queensland, the northern rivers of New South Wales, or the mid-north coast, Thursday through Saturday is when you need to be most vigilant. Keep an eye on the latest warnings from the Bureau. Have a plan for severe weather. Know where you will shelter if damaging winds or large hail approach. For those in storm-prone areas who've been through this before, you know the drill. Secure loose items around the property. Check your gutters and downpipes are clear. Make sure you've got torches and batteries in case of power outages. If you've got livestock, make sure they've got access to shelter. The flash flooding risk is elevated, particularly in central Queensland where rainfall totals are already high. Additional heavy falls on already saturated catchments can lead to rapid river rises. If you're in a flood-prone area and the Bureau issues flood warnings, take them seriously. Never drive through floodwater. If it's flooded, forget it. That's the SES message and it's worth repeating. The bushfire situation in Victoria improves significantly with the cool change. Fire danger drops from severe or extreme down to low to moderate. That is good news for firefighters working on the Thogolalong fire and other blazes across the state. The cooler temperatures, higher humidity and lighter winds make containment much easier. However, for those in Queensland and northern New South Wales where it's hot and humid before the rain arrives, fire danger remains elevated in some areas. Total fire bans may still be in place. Check with your local fire service before lighting any fires. One thing worth noting is the wind. We're going to see some strong wind gusts associated with these systems. The change itself brings southerly winds that can gust to 60 or 70 kilometres per hour, particularly along the coast and ranges. That is not extreme, but it is enough to bring down tree branches, especially after recent rain when the soil is soft. The Coral Sea low, if it develops as expected, will generate strong winds offshore. Marine warnings are likely. If you're heading out on the water anywhere along the Queensland or New South Wales coast, check the latest marine forecasts. Conditions could deteriorate quickly. Now, let's put this in some historical context because many of you have seen weather patterns like this before. The setup we're looking at with tropical moisture from the north colliding with a cold change from the south is classic East Coast low territory. We're not forecasting a full-blown East Coast low at this stage, but the ingredients are there. The last significant East Coast low was back in 2022 when the eastern states saw major flooding. That was a much more intense system than what we're expecting here, but it's worth remembering how quickly these situations can escalate. The Queensland flooding reminds some of the 2011 floods, though again, we're not at those levels. 2011 saw catastrophic flooding across Brisbane and the Lockyer Valley. What we're seeing now is significant, particularly in central Queensland, but it is not approaching those historic levels. That said, any flooding is serious and the impacts on communities and properties are real. The cool change moving through is similar to what we see several times a year, nothing unprecedented about it. But after a period of warmth and humidity, the contrast feels significant. It's the kind of change that often brings a spike in flu and cold symptoms as people's bodies adjust to the temperature swing. If you've been feeling crook lately, that temperature whiplash is partly to blame. So what should you be doing to prepare? Let me give you some practical advice based on where you are and what you are facing. If you're in central Queensland dealing with ongoing rain and flooding, your priority is monitoring river levels and following advice from the SES. If you are in a flood-prone area, have your emergency kit ready, important documents, medications, spare clothes, torch, battery-powered radio. If you are told to evacuate, do it. Don't wait until the last minute. For those in southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales expecting severe thunderstorms, preparation is straightforward. Secure loose items outside. Check your property for weak trees or branches that could come down in strong winds. Make sure your phone is charged so you can receive emergency warnings. Park your car under cover if you've got hail forecast. It's not worth the insurance excess to leave it out in the open. If you are in southern New South Wales or Victoria welcoming the cool change, it's more about adjusting to the temperature drop. Layer up if you're already heading out early morning or late evening. The contrast from recent warmth to sudden cool can catch you off guard, especially overnight. For those in drought-affected areas finally seeing rain, it's a relief, but don't expect one event to break the drought. The southern downs of Queensland, inland New South Wales, they need sustained rainfall over weeks and months to recover properly. This is a start, not a solution. And for anyone in bushfire-affected areas, the cool change is your friend. Fire danger drops, conditions improve for containment. But stay informed about smoke and air quality. If you've got respiratory issues, the smoke can still be problematic even after the fire danger eases. One practical tip that's worth sharing, particularly for those expecting heavy rain and potential power outages, fill your bathtub with clean water before the storm hits. Gives you drinking water and flushing water if the supply gets cut. Simple preparation that can make a big difference. For those with livestock or rural properties, make sure animals have access to shelter. The temperature swings and heavy rain can stress animals, particularly sheep and cattle that have been dealing with heat. Check water troughs are clean and full. If you've got low-lying paddocks prone to flooding, move stock to higher ground ahead of time. Looking ahead beyond this week, the pattern stays active for eastern Australia. We're likely to see several more systems move through over the next fortnight. That is typical for this time of year as we transition into the wetter part of summer for the east coast. The monsoon trough remains active across the north. That means the tropical moisture tap stays turned on for Queensland. We could see multiple rounds of heavy rainfall through late January and into February. Keep an eye on the longer range forecasts. For southern states, the pattern looks like it'll oscillate between cool changes and warm spells. Nothing extreme either way, just typical summer variability. Victoria and South Australia probably won't see much in the way of significant rain. Tasmania continues its pleasant run. Western Australia stays dry for the most part. The southwest might see a few weak fronts, but rainfall totals will be light. The north stays hot and humid with scattered storms, standard wet season stuff. The Coral Sea bears watching over the next few weeks. Cyclone season is well underway and the conditions are favourable for tropical development. We've already had ex-tropical cyclone Koji and there could be more systems forming. If you're in far north Queensland or the northern coast, now is the time to review your cyclone preparation. Make sure your cyclone kit is ready, your property is as secure as possible and you know your nearest evacuation centre. The key message here is that we're in an active weather pattern. It's not catastrophic, it's not the end of the world, but it is significant. Multiple systems, heavy rainfall in some areas, severe thunderstorm risks, flooding concerns. These all require attention and appropriate preparation. The Bureau of Meteorology is doing an excellent job keeping the warnings updated. Check their website regularly. Sign up for emergency alerts on your phone if you haven't already. Follow your local SES and fire service on social media. These official sources give you the most accurate and timely information. Weather apps can be useful, but make sure you're reusing reputable ones. Some viewers have mentioned using Meteored, which links to the Bureau of Meteorology data. That's a good choice. The wind direction maps are particularly useful when you're trying to understand smoke drift from bushfires or how storms might track. The bottom line is this. We've got a complex weather setup over the next week. Heavy rain and flooding for central Queensland continuing into tomorrow. Severe thunderstorms developing across southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales from Thursday onwards. A welcome cool change for southern states, reducing fire danger and giving everyone a break from the heat. And active conditions continuing into next week with more systems likely. For most of you, this is manageable. Be prepared, stay informed, but don't panic. You've seen weather like this before, you know what to do. For those in the most affected areas, particularly central Queensland dealing with flooding, take it seriously, follow official advice, look after yourselves and check on your neighbours, especially the elderly or anyone who might need extra help. The weather across Australia is rarely boring and this week is no exception. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll have more updates as